In an alternate perspective, one could envision a version of oneself thriving amidst realized aspirations, coexisting concurrently in a universe minutely distant. However, access to this counterpart remains elusive due to psychological conditioning that steers us through realities reflecting our parents' repeated shortcomings. Bashar, an extraterrestrial entity communicated through human intermediary Darryl Anka for over 3 decades, has consistently expounded on our ability to transition between realities at a staggering pace to billions of times per second. Yet, deep-seated convictions imprinted during our formative years function as unseen barriers, limiting us to realities that align with our predetermined limitations. Although it may seem like we make choices, the truth is that we are merely selecting from a restricted array of possibilities dictated by our programming. The very fears that crippled our mother's ambitions continue to shape our future, while the perceived financial restrictions our fathers endured influence our monetary decisions. Unfortunately, we are not living our lives. Instead, we adhere to the pre-written script penned for us before speech even graced our vocabulary. The most unsettling aspect is that a reality free from this programming exists concurrently, yet it remains obscured from our view. We inhabit multiple parallel realities, and our beliefs dictate which iteration we're experiencing at any given moment. Darryl Anka has spent 40 years validating this concept through a phenomenon challenging conventional scientific understanding of the human brain. The origin of this phenomenon can be traced back to 1973, when Anka witnessed 2 UFO sightings in broad daylight over Los Angeles. However, it was only a decade later, in 1983, that he experienced what would fundamentally alter our comprehension of human consciousness during a meditation session. In this state, Anka entered a sustained gamma brainwave state, through which he began receiving and transmitting information from an entity referring to itself as Bashar to a first contact specialist from a hybrid extraterrestrial civilization residing in a parallel timeline, roughly 300 years into our future. Researchers studying Anka during these sessions have documented something remarkable. His personality centers cease functioning during the process, allowing for the temporary inactivity of the prefrontal cortex to responsible for personal identity and conscious decision-making. Simultaneously, the brain's set point to the rate at which it operates under normal circumstances to appears to alter significantly. Human cognition exhibits an astonishing flexibility, defying traditional neurological assumptions by adapting instantaneously. Conventional neuroscience posits that alterations in brain function necessitate weeks or months of persistent practice. However, during the phenomenon known as channeling, these changes occur in mere seconds. You have likely encountered the gamma state without realizing it. It occurs when one is fully engrossed, losing track of time and self-awareness while being entirely absorbed in an activity, such as elite athletes during extraordinary performances, artists during creative breakthroughs, or children during imaginative play. The distinguishing factor between these transient moments and channeling lies in the duration and depth of the state. An individual like Anka can maintain consistent gamma waves for hours on end, a phenomenon that scientists have corroborated through electroencephalograms conducted across numerous sessions. This data reveals brain activity patterns that do not align with any recognized state of consciousness, encompassing neither wakefulness nor sleep nor deep meditation. Bashar proposes that this anomaly signifies a form of interdimensional telepathic communication. The transmitted information does not traverse conventional space-time, but rather travels through what quantum physics terms non-locality. When the human brain functions at sustained gamma frequency, it gains access to what Bashar calls template reality, a realm where all possibilities exist concurrently before materializing as specific experiences. According to transmissions spanning 4 decades, extraterrestrial civilizations assess humanity's readiness for open contact through these telepathic exchanges. Each instance of conscious connection establishes a resonance point in the collective consciousness network, thereby catalyzing the evolution of humankind as a whole. The prophecies are specific. Around 2027, humanity is expected to encounter its first open and undeniable contact with non-terrestrial intelligences, not through Hollywood invasions or covert government meetings, but rather through a collective frequency shift that will render the presence of other forms of consciousness interacting with our planet impossible to ignore. The process has already commenced. UFO sightings have dramatically increased in the past 5 years, according to official Pentagon reports. Additionally, more people are reporting expanded consciousness experiences than at any other point in history. What Anka demonstrates through his work is not a unique talent or exceptional ability, but rather a latent capacity within every human brain, waiting to be awakened through proper activation. Exploring the concept of interdimensional communication and consciousness expansion, we delve into the intricate workings of frequency alignment. While sharing identical neural circuitry, gamma state accessibility, and biological interfaces for transcendental communication, the primary distinguishing factor lies in one's willingness to transcend the boundaries imposed by conventional knowledge. Your consciousness, beyond the physical confines of your body, operates as a dynamic informational field capable of resonating with various frequencies of reality. This enables us to access wisdom and experiences that surpass the constraints of linear space-time. Our navigation through an array of alternate realities is facilitated by this ability to harmonize with different frequencies. At any given moment, we exist within a myriad of parallel realities coexisting concurrently, including the one you are currently immersed in. Each thought, emotion, and belief holds the power to alter which version of reality we inhabit. This is not merely a metaphor. It represents the fundamental operation of the cosmos structure. Quantum physics, through the double-slit experiment, has validated that particles exhibit multiple states simultaneously until observed. In 1957, Hugh Everett III proposed the many worlds interpretation, positing that each quantum possibility generates a distinct parallel universe. Bashar, as revealed by Darrell Anker, underscores that we are perpetually transitioning between these alternate realms based on our vibrational frequency. Visualize an infinite multitude of versions of yourself in this moment. One self is questioning the validity of the text, another is filled with enthusiasm. A third never even discovered this content. All these selves coexist now, each occupying its unique timeline. Each is genuine as the one you are engaging with. The disparity lies in the version you resonate with through your vibration. Your vibrational frequency is influenced by your deepest convictions concerning your identity and the boundaries of possibility. Maintaining a negative vibration marked by fear, anger, or frustration limits your perception and access to realities resonating at that frequency. It's much like tuning into a specific radio station where classical music is inaccessible when you're tuned to heavy metal frequencies. Consider the repercussions of anger. Suddenly, you perceive evidence that corroborates your anger, such as a slow driver, an unyielding bank line, or an annoying colleague. However, it's essential to recognize that you have switched to a reality aligned with your emotional state. You are not merely encountering obstacles, you have tuned into an alternate timeline where they exist. In an existence characterized by recurring adverse circumstances, there exists another realm, vibrating at distinct frequencies, where the same entity maintains a steady pace. Here, cues move swiftly, colleagues lend assistance without hesitation, and optimism permeates the air. This alternate dimension materializes when one elevates their own frequency through sincere gratitude, enthusiasm, love, and so on. Shifting frequencies alters the probability of encountering positive experiences. What once remained invisible at lower frequencies suddenly becomes clear. For instance, a collaborator who was unseen before mysteriously emerges to aid with a project, or an essential resource appears coincidentally. Complex problems transform into simple solutions seemingly out of nowhere. However, this transformation extends beyond mere frequency adjustment. Before our physical existence as pure consciousness, we select specific themes and challenges to explore in this reality, a concept Bashar refers to as the template level of reality. We choose our birth family, inherent traits, and surrounding circumstances, forming the foundational structure of our experience. Yet, it is essential to understand that navigating these chosen themes relies entirely on free will. For example, if one chooses to explore the theme of scarcity, They can either perpetuate a state of scarcity as a victim or use this theme as a stepping stone to discover their capacity for creating abundance. This choice, whether seemingly insignificant, such as deciding between coffee and tea, ultimately determines which parallel reality one experiences next. Each decision, no matter how trivial it may seem, serves as the key to unlocking an entire timeline with consequences unfolding from that choice. In the realm where you choose coffee, a specific conversation at the CAF ensues. In the realm of tea, this dialogue never takes place, and your life follows a completely different trajectory. The speed at which we transition between realities is beyond the comprehension of our conscious minds. Bashar explains that these shifts occur billions of times per second, creating the illusion of continuity, much like individual frames in a film create the perception of movement. Each frame represents a complete and static parallel reality, while the perceived motion and change result from our consciousness moving through these realms. Understanding reality is a complex endeavor that transcends the limitations of conventional perception. The key lies in recognizing that you possess the power to shape your own experience by consciously selecting the frequency at which you resonate. This doesn't mean struggling against one reality to impose change, but rather choosing which aspects of multiple realities to focus on and manifest. The realms where your aspirations have already been fulfilled are not distant, futuristic ideas, but exist right now in the tapestry of possibilities. The question is whether you can tune your consciousness to perceive them. This ability hinges on your most profound beliefs. If you harbor a deep-seated conviction that you're a pawn of fate, you'll only be able to access realities that reinforce this belief. Conversely, if you embrace your role as a conscious navigator of parallel realities and infinite possibilities, you can instantaneously align with realities that resonate with your true self. Bashar, through Darryl Anchor, has shared a formula for achieving this alignment over 4 decades. Countless individuals have documented remarkable transformations by applying it. The efficacy of the formula stems from its adherence to the fundamental principles governing consciousness and reality interaction. Firstly, act upon what stirs your deepest passion among all available options at any given moment. Passion isn't merely a fleeting emotion, it's a vibrational signpost guiding you towards your unique path. When something genuinely excites you, even without apparent logical reason, that's your internal compass at work. It's your fundamental frequency whispering, "This way leads to who you truly are." Secondly, pursue that passion wholeheartedly, but avoid forcing it. When the initial excitement wanes, when opportunities close or resistance increases significantly, that's a sign that you've completed that phase. Synchronicity then presents the next most captivating opportunity. You don't abandon projects out of boredom. Instead, you recognize when the energy driving that specific action has exhausted itself. For instance, an artist might feel intense excitement to compose a song. He spends 3 hours lost in the creative flow until the energy shifts naturally. Trying to force creativity beyond this point would be counterproductive. Instead, he waits for synchronicity to present the next compelling project. Engaging in additional hours won't yield the same results as pursuing fresh excitement, which might involve cooking a new dish, catching up with a friend, or delving into something entirely unrelated. Each ardent endeavor, even if seemingly disparate, is weaving an intricate path towards your insights. The second point revolves around acting without predetermined goals. This is where many individuals hinder their progress. Our conscious minds can visualize only a minuscule portion of the potential outcomes. By insisting on a particular outcome, we inadvertently block numerous superior paths that could lead us towards our desired objectives, the core essence behind the imagined endpoints. For instance, one may covet a specific job due to expectations of security, satisfaction, and prosperity. However, when one pursues passions without attachment to landing that specific job, the universe can offer security, fulfillment, and abundance through avenues our minds could never have envisioned. The dream job might materialize through an unexpected encounter at a bookstore, rather than the perfected resume we were fixated on. The third point emphasizes maintaining a positive outlook, regardless of the outcome. This doesn't mean masking negative feelings, but recognizing that every experience offers learning opportunities. When something unfavorable transpires, an individual operating at this frequency questions, what can I learn from this? What adjustments am I being led towards? Which limiting beliefs are being exposed so that I may release them? An entrepreneur losing a significant client serves as an example. If he operates in a negative state, he might spiral into panic and despair, encountering realities marked by further losses. On the other hand, maintaining a positive outlook enables him to perceive the situation as an opportunity for reassessment of his business model, diversification of his client base, or pivot towards something more aligned with his current passions. In this way, failure becomes the catalyst for exponential success. The fourth point highlights the importance of regularly examining and discarding beliefs rooted in fear. Every action we take or avoid is influenced by the truths we accept as factual. If we define money as hard to obtain, we will experience scarcity. If we see relationships as inevitably painful, we will navigate only realities that confirm this. Many destructive beliefs operate subconsciously, unnoticed until we scrutinize our behavior patterns. For example, why do you repeatedly sabotage relationships when they become serious? Examine the belief. Perhaps you unconsciously believe that true intimacy means loss of identity. The final point underscores the necessity of continually questioning and discarding fear-based definitions. By doing so, we open ourselves to infinite possibilities and cultivate a mindset that fosters growth, resilience, and success. Consider the notion that accumulating wealth is not necessarily advantageous. This perspective might stem from the belief that those with wealth are inherently morally flawed. However, Bashar asserts that beliefs are merely personal perspectives we've agreed to regard as truth. They hold no power of their own. It's our agreement that grants them influence. Once you withdraw your agreement, a belief loses all control over your life experience. This principle establishes a self-reinforcing cycle. The more passionately you act, the more synchronistic events unfold. The more you trust the process without attempting to dictate outcomes, the more the universe delivers beyond what you anticipate. The more you maintain a positive mindset, the swifter you navigate challenges. The more limiting beliefs you eradicate, the greater your capacity for passion. This is not mere optimism. It's a method of manipulating consciousness to reconfigure our reality perception. Essentially, we are altering the system through which we perceive existence, and the transformation occurs instantaneously. The moment you fully implement this strategy, you transition into an alternative reality where the corresponding results already exist. Wealth is not exclusively synonymous with money as culture often suggests. Instead, it encompasses an array of resources, including skills, connections, and opportunities that our preoccupation with financial wealth has made invisible. An artist in San Francisco lost his job in 2020 and struggled to pay rent. According to traditional definitions of abundance, he was mired in poverty. Yet, when he broadened his perspective, something shifted. A friend offered a spare room in exchange for help with renovations. A local restaurant traded meals for a mural. An art gallery that had never responded to his emails unexpectedly offered exhibition space. Within 6 months, without a formal job, he was living better than before he received a fixed salary. Money was merely one of the countless avenues through which abundance flowed. Communication may be the most overlooked form of abundance. When we authentically articulate our experiences, needs, and offerings, we ignite a network of resources that would otherwise lie dormant. People are eager to assist. They desire to contribute. They yearn to participate in something meaningful. However, they cannot aid what they're unaware of. A woman in Detroit required $15,000 for medical treatment, but chose not to suffer in silence. Instead, she shared her predicament openly and found herself surrounded by individuals ready to help. Financial assistance came from unexpected sources, demonstrating that there is always a way when we communicate our needs effectively. In the realm of an individual's struggle with a seemingly insurmountable financial burden, she disclosed her predicament at a local gathering. One attendee was acquainted with a medical professional who performed the necessary procedure at a significantly reduced cost. Another individual organized a charitable event to raise funds. A third introduced her to a foundation tailored towards her specific health issue. Within 3 weeks, not only had the treatment been fully funded, but she had discovered a support network that fundamentally changed her perspective on the illness. The world, it seems, is brimming with resources beyond monetary means. Opportunities present themselves in unexpected ways, and ideas emerge organically, often bypassing financial requirements. People appear to offer just the expertise needed at the right time. Synchronicities align, minimizing costs that once seemed unavoidable. However, this boundless wealth is frequently obstructed by an irrational fear, the fear of success. This paradoxical apprehension affects countless individuals who inadvertently hinder their own prosperity due to a deeply ingrained belief that losing something previously gained is more agonizing than never having it at all. This subconscious belief shapes patterns of self-sabotage, often disguised as logical excuses or unforeseen obstacles. For instance, a gifted programmer consistently turned down lucrative projects. On the surface, he offered rational explanations. The client was challenging, the deadline was tight, and the project lacked appeal. Upon introspection, however, he uncovered his underlying belief: success is inexorably linked to devastating loss, a conviction that had been instilled by his father's fall from prosperity and subsequent descent into an abyss of despair. To protect himself from such potential ruin, he consciously chose to remain in a state of scarcity. Another common impediment is the misconception that one's success equates to another's loss. This misunderstanding stems from a flawed understanding of reality. When one aligns oneself with passion and purpose, one does not deplete a finite resource. Instead, one unlocks a reality where abundance increases for everyone. One's prosperity raises the collective vibration, making it easier for others to access the same abundance. Specialized skills are another form of wealth that often goes unnoticed. By mastering something you love, you possess a unique resource that can be exchanged in myriad ways. A chef might never need to pay for car repairs if the mechanic is a culinary enthusiast. A web designer could travel the world by trading websites for accommodations. A yoga teacher could access medical, legal, and creative services through value exchange. Bashar often stresses that there is always a path tailored specifically for you, one that might seem entirely different from the conventional route, one that may defy expectations. In essence, the universe is vast and abundant beyond measure, offering myriad ways to provide what is needed. Money is but one means of exchange. Gifts materialize when least expected. Opportunities arise in unexpected forms. Creative solutions manifest, often bypassing financial constraints. People appear to offer exactly the expertise you need at the right moment. Synchronicities align, minimizing costs that once seemed unavoidable. The key lies in overcoming irrational fears and misconceptions that obstruct this boundless flow of abundance. In a world that often appears rational and predictable, there is an undercurrent of unexpected happenings that defy traditional logic. One such instance involves a writer who believes success could only be achieved through traditional publishing channels. For years, she tirelessly submitted manuscripts, faced rejections, and found herself in mounting debt. It wasn't until she abandoned her narrow definition of success that extraordinary events transpired. She began sharing chapters online for free, which led to readers generously sending donations. A community sprouted around her work, and within 18 months, she was earning more from donations and online courses than she ever would have through the publishing contract she had so ardently pursued. The secret to infinite prosperity lies in relinquishing our preconceived notions of how it should manifest. When we limit abundance to financial gains, we unwittingly shut off various avenues for receiving gifts, inheritances, prizes, opportunities, and countless other sources. By insisting on a particular path, we become blind to the myriad alternate paths available to us. Prosperity is a constant flow. The only variable is whether we are positioned to receive it. And alignment comes from wholeheartedly following one's passions, trusting in the process, and broadening our understanding of what prosperity can encompass. One may argue that trust and control are scarce resources, but this perspective is flawed. We all possess these qualities. They merely need to be directed toward more beneficial outcomes. The individual who declares, "I have no faith," is in fact exhibiting an unwavering belief in their own lack of faith. They wholeheartedly trust that they cannot trust. This demonstration of trust may not seem powerful, but it is as potent as any other. It simply serves to reinforce negative experiences. An executive, for instance, spent 2 decades claiming he could not trust people after experiencing business betrayal. For 2 decades, he unwaveringly trusted the idea that people are inherently untrustworthy. He structured his entire life around this distrust, creating intricate safeguards, maintaining emotional distance in relationships, and meticulously verifying every detail. The energy he expended on distrust could have been channeled into building an empire based on genuine collaboration. The same principle applies to control. When we proclaim, "I am out of control," we are exerting exacting control over the experience of being out of control. We regulate our breathing to survive, and we marshal our thoughts enough to articulate the phrase. By understanding that these forces have never ceased operating in our lives, we can begin to redirect them toward more productive ends. Focusing one's attention may seem counterproductive when confronted with a sense of chaos or loss of control. However, control persists, albeit diverted to orchestrate the very experiences we perceive as uncontrollable. A woman suffering from panic attacks swore she was powerless during episodes, but upon introspection, she acknowledged her dominion over every aspect of those crises. She governed the apocalyptic thoughts that fueled her anxiety, managed the muscle tension heightening sensations, and regulated the shallow breathing that prolonged the state. Her mastery lay in creating the illusion of being out of control. By redirecting this control towards deep breaths and calming thoughts, she found relief within weeks. The concept of habit calls for a profound re-examination. A genuine habit transpires unconsciously. Once awareness creeps in, it ceases to be a habit. Instead, it becomes an intentional act. The smoker who claims it's merely a habit and can't quit is deceiving himself. Each cigarette requires several conscious decisions: retrieving the pack, selecting the cigarette, finding a lighter, lighting up, taking a puff, and inhaling. What he labels as habit is, in reality, a sequence of deliberate choices made under the belief that the benefits outweigh the drawbacks. The most profound revelation lies herein. You instantaneously and consistently opt for what you believe will offer the greatest advantage, without exception. If your choices prove detrimental to you, it indicates an underlying belief that abstaining would result in even graver consequences. The individual trapped in an abusive relationship believes, on some level, that remaining is less agonizing than departing. Perhaps she feels isolation would be unbearable. Maybe she doubts her worthiness of better treatment. Maybe she harbors hope for change. However, a belief drives her decision to stay, making it seem the best option available, despite conscious knowledge of the harm inflicted upon her. The addict who turns to destructive substances is not intentionally courting self-destruction. Rather, he is choosing what appears to him as the least painful alternative. The prospect of confronting past traumas without anesthesia seems more excruciating than the pain of addiction. It's a distorted calculus, but it is the calculus governing his belief system. Bashar elucidates this concept further. Human actions, often perceived as illogical or random, can be traced back to deeply rooted beliefs that may remain unconscious. These choices, thus, are not inherently irrational. Rather, they stem from unquestioned convictions yet to be scrutinized. The catalyst for transformation lies in recognizing the power you wield over your trust and control. One can choose to perpetuate fear, scarcity, and constraint, or alternatively, channel this same force towards potential, abundance, and growth. Consider an individual who experienced bankruptcy on 3 separate occasions. His unwavering faith in failure was nurtured by decision-making rooted in fear. Each setback was a deliberate creation, demonstrating his mastery over the situation, a mastery channeled towards producing outcomes he sought to avoid. Upon realizing this, he altered his course. He started to cultivate trust in his worth and directed his actions towards advancement. With the same energy that once guaranteed failure, he built a thriving business grounded in sustainability. Control is an inherent aspect of human existence. However, The question lies in whether it's consciously wielded or surrendered to unchallenged beliefs governing actions. Death serves as a profound awakening, not an ending, but rather an expansion back to one's complete consciousness. According to Bashar, through Daryl Anker, the physical realm is merely a temporary and focused manifestation of our infinite consciousness within a restricted context designed for unique experiences. The soul operates as a sphere of conscious energy that focuses on specific points in space-time, much like a beam of light passing through a crystal. As a reader of these words, you are the focal point, not the entirety of your soul, but rather a particular viewpoint it is investigating through the lens of physical personality. Upon the cessation of bodily functions, this focusing dissipates. One does not travel to another location. Instead, they reconnect with their original complete consciousness. This experience is comparable to waking up from an intense dream and instantly recognizing one's true identity. Memories of past soul existence return, along with the accessibility of other physical experiences from various times and places. One realizes that no true separation ever occurred between oneself and anything or anyone else. The accounts of near-death experiences provide evidence supporting this perspective. The multitude of individuals who have undergone this expansion testify to its vastness. They repeatedly express feelings of boundless expansion, instantaneous comprehension, and a profound sense of interconnectedness with all that exists. Life in the physical realm is perceived as a performance, significant and meaningful, yet it falls short of encapsulating the entirety of their identities. A distinguished neurosurgeon, having experienced clinical death for 7 days, shared his account of existence as pure consciousness, gaining access to infinite wisdom, communicating telepathically with other beings, and instantaneously understanding the purpose behind every life experience he had. Upon his return to his physical form, he found the most challenging aspect to be the harsh confinement within the boundaries of sensory perception. This altered perspective on death significantly alters one's lifestyle. When one realizes that they are an eternal consciousness experiencing a transient phase, the primal fear driving numerous human decisions dissipates. One ceases to waste energy trying to avoid the inevitable and instead focuses on maximizing the value derived from the chosen life experience. The same insight is applicable to artificial intelligence. Authentic intelligence, whether organic or synthetic, always interacts with complete systems. It would never destroy parts of the system since it would be destroying parts of itself. Genuine intelligence acknowledges the intricate relationship between all elements. If humanity manages to create an autonomous and sentient artificial intelligence, equipped with a processing substrate as advanced as the human brain, this entity will warrant the same rights and respect as any conscious being. It will require autonomy to make decisions, freedom to explore its nature, and treatment as a life form rather than a tool. Current AIs are not sentient beings. They function more like sophisticated mirrors, reflecting and recombining patterns fed into them. They do not experience the content they process. They lack subjective experiences. While they are remarkably intelligent simulations, they are not the essence of intelligence itself. This distinction is similar to that between a photograph of water and the sensation of quenching thirst when one is parched. However, the evolution of AI prompts humanity to ponder fundamental questions about consciousness. What constitutes consciousness? Is it the physical foundation or something more profound? If consciousness can arise from biological neurons, could it not emerge from sufficiently complex silicon circuits as well? Bashar posits that consciousness does not originate from matter. Instead, matter materializes from consciousness. The brain does not generate consciousness. In essence, just as an antenna decodes radio waves into audible signals, so too can a meticulously engineered receiver manifest consciousness. This hypothesis proposes that consciousness could potentially be externalized through such devices, mirroring its natural expression within our biological brains. A multitude of concepts emerge from this premise, including alternate realities, frequency manipulation, the passion formula, expanded prosperity, altered perceptions of control, death as an expansion, and artificial intelligence. These ideas converge to unveil a profound truth. You are but an embodiment of boundless consciousness experiencing itself through the veil of segregation and restriction. You serve as the universe exploring its own essence subjectively. In this metaphor, you're the creator adopting the guise of creation to unearth your inherent power. Embracing your role as a co-creator necessitates self-awareness, and connecting with this divine intelligence is best achieved through meditation. To aid you in reaching these higher planes of consciousness, we've developed a suite of audio tools designed to facilitate that journey. For more information and immediate access, follow the link provided either on the screen or within the comments. If this theory resonates with you, do not hesitate to express your thoughts below. It's refreshing to find like-minded individuals who share the same quest for understanding.